Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode. It's been a long time, hasn't it? Anyway, I know it's looking quite miserable here, but that is not the theme of the video. It may be raining, but we've got good news. It's a celebration. The PlayStation Classic, or let's just face it, the PlayStation 1 Mini has finally been announced. Now this is following the wake of Nintendo's success with their mini consoles, and anyone who's been following the channel for a little while will remember the Liverpool Retro Gamers first video was actually me going to pick up the SNES Mini, so I've got a lot to owe to that little machine, and there's some snazzy editing here from Catherine. Thank you very much there. Anyway, I took to Twitter to show what games I'd choose for the PS1 Mini, and there were a lot of enthusiastic replies, so I thought, you know what, I best make a video about this. It's no secret that PlayStation are dominating the current console generation, and when it comes down to it, it's pretty much just because of how great all the games have been. Bearing that in mind, it's no wonder why I decided to do one of these classic systems, because the PlayStation 1 was outselling the N64 for the exact same reason. When you look at the library of games, and when you think about how many people love these games and have a history with them, I wouldn't be surprised to see a PS2 Mini as well. I think this is going to be a real big success. When we first got our PlayStation 1, this is exactly what we got with it, and all these games mean a lot to me. They hold a special place in my heart. And that brings me to a point about these mini consoles. If you just want to keep on collecting the original hardware and you're not into this emulation style, I totally get it, you know, because there's not unlike the authenticity of opening up the PlayStation, putting in the original disc, and then slapping down that power button. Then after that, you see the startup screen again, and it takes you right back to being a kid. But in that same regard, consider people who haven't played a PlayStation 1 for 15, 20 years. These give them that opportunity again, and that's why these mini consoles are so boss for gamers. I'll tell you one thing though, I wish they still came with the original game boxes, because these things just look absolutely amazing. So happy I still own mine. So enough of the setup, let's get to the main point of the video, and that would be talking about the PlayStation 1. Here it is. My favourite console of all time, so much so, you know, I've got the t-shirt, I've got many gaming t-shirts, but this is one I'm particularly happy to have. But we only get to choose 20 games, well, because of Sony's choice anyway. So they've already chosen a few. They chose Wild Arms and Final Fantasy VII. Let's just all have a moment of silence for the Final Fantasy VII remake. At least we get to play the proper one anyway. So they chose those, two great RPGs, Tekken 3, great fighting game, Jump and Flash, which I've actually never heard of, if you can believe that, and Ridge Racer 4. I'm not the biggest racing game fan, please don't destroy me in the comments. But let's talk about what games I would choose. Right, so I've got them all out here. I was a bit worried with doing this because I was thinking, you know what, I'm just going to literally name off a fucking big list of games here, and I just didn't want anyone to get too bored, but I tried to put it into little categories. So we're going to start off with one, which, believe it or not, I don't actually have in my collection right now. Hogs of War. One of my favourite games of all time. It's got commentary by Rick Mayall. You know, rest in peace, Rick, we all love you, mate. And basically, I've lent this game to one of my mates. Dale, if you're watching this video, lad, give me back my fucking game, man. I only just realised I haven't even got it, lad, and I remember where it was. Anyway, Hogs of War. Just gotta be true. Maybe a lot of people in America wouldn't have chose that, but it's a world-class game. I'd highly, highly recommend it. Anyway, next we're gonna go for the fighting games, and you're gonna get a wide variety of cases here. I'm gonna start with a Japanese one, Street Fighter Alpha 2. This is possibly the best fighting game of all time. This has got to make the list. And then we got Tekken 2. I know we got Tekken 3, but Tekken 2, you know, it's my favourite out of all the Tekken games. Tekken 4 very close as well. Again, don't kill me in the comments, but I love Tekken 4. And then we're going to go for the horror games that are included. Now we're moving over to the NTSC games. Cases, should I say. Silent Hill. One of the most atmospheric games of all time. You've got to have it in there. And then if we're talking about horror games, you can't not mention Resident Evil 2. I can see this actually getting a big chance of being in it because, you know, it's getting its remake, isn't it? So there's no reason it wouldn't. Right, next off we're going to go with, the first one isn't about, these are platformers, the first one isn't a platform, but it's hard to really genre it, sort of thing. Whoa, holy shit, I just nearly dropped them all. I need to be a bit more fucking careful. Anyway, right, the first one, Medieval, however you say this got a big push in the PSP back in the day. This is a great game. I remember playing this with my granddad's when I was a young man. Crash Bandicoot 2, how could you not have this? The best out of all the Crash Bandicoot games, one of the best games ever made. Just got a remake, high chance it could be in there in my opinion. And then a really underrated game, and a really solid game, Rayman. This game is absolutely world class. I love this game, you know. This has got to be in there. And next, again, not really a platformer, but one of my favourite games of all time. So much so I've got a tattoo of it. You probably can't see it there. Abe's Oddworld. Well, Abe's Odyssey, I guess. This, one of the best games ever made, flat out, a masterpiece. I'm going to be saying that a lot throughout this video because, like I said, PlayStation 1, favourite console of all time. There's a reason, it's because of the games. Alright, so next up, we're going to have a look at, you know, the first one's already been said. This is my favourite game of all time, Final Fantasy VII. Just the fucking GOAT, the greatest of all time. There's no way it couldn't be in this list. Next off, somehow not getting released to the Switch, by the way. Maybe I'll mention that again another time. Final Fantasy VIII. This has got some of the best music and cutscenes in any games ever. Final Fantasy IX, another world class game. They still have not reached these points with anything past these, well, other than 10. You know, my top 5 games of all time. And then another amazing game, Final Fantasy Tactics. And again, it's an American one. It never got a release over here, so they could really do with bringing it out just to give it a worldwide release. The next one I also don't own, but it's Xenogears. Again, only ever came out in America and Japan, but this game, top of the top of the top of the pile. It's just gotta get a release, it really has to. And then with that, we're gonna move over to the RPGs themselves. First of all, again, in American case, Legend of Dragoon. This game is fucking world class. If you haven't played this, get it. Just get it. Best recommendation I can give you. The next one, I actually can't believe this got released for it. Wild Arms. I can't believe it's already been announced because this is a real gem, a really underrated game. But another one that's really underrated. Now this one might not happen because it is coming out for the Switch soon. Grandia. I've got this ugly ass case for Grandia. Exclusive. I've exclusively like to not fucking have it. But anyway, amazing game. I don't care about the case. And another one which is only came out in America and Japan again, but always gets undermined and underrated. Chrono Cross. If you love Chrono Trigger like I do, this is a very worthy sequel in my opinion. It always gets overlooked. Brilliant game. Next off, barely anybody ever mentions this when we were doing, because I put it up on Twitter, you know, asking people, and I only got 1 or 2 people talking about it. It's one of the best games of all time. Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Like, and by the way, yeah, I'm very proud to have this game. Well, not necessarily proud, it's not like I made it, but I'm very grateful. That's the best way to say it. I'm very lucky because this is a very expensive game right now. This is a world-class game. One of the very best ever made, like I said. It's just got to be on it. It's got to be on it. And then last but not least, if Final Fantasy VII didn't exist, this could be the best game ever made. And, you know, I know it will be for a lot of people. Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gear motherfucking Solid. Shadow Moses. This is one of the greatest games of all time. It's a true piece of art. If this isn't on the PlayStation Mini, I mean, fuck man, I've got no idea what will be. Now that we've covered the 20 games which I've put on the PlayStation Mini, let's talk about the hardware itself. Now, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be about the same quality that the SNES and NES Mini have been. Let's not mention the Sega Mega Drive Minis that have been made by AT Games over the years. Those things are just total piece of shit, to be honest. But the only gripes that I have with it, because there's no big problems, but there's just some gripes that I have with it. So, I really don't like that there's no memory card option, because I know it sounds really silly, but to me it just looks very bare, and like anybody who's ever played a PlayStation 1 knows you need a memory card, and I know that the newer generation might not know that, but it just looks a bit strange. The other thing that I like to talk about is the fact that it's not an analog controller. I do really love the original D-pad and the PS1, and that's what I had originally. You know, we didn't have a proper, you know, dual analog or whatever for many years. But again, this new generation, a lot of them just aren't going to be able to hack it, to be perfectly honest, unless they've been playing with a, you know, a DS sort of life or something like that. But to be honest, they're going to be struggling with that. And there are games which, you know, being real, do really benefit from having the analog. The next thing I like to talk about, you know, the elephant in the room for this, it's the price. Now, realistically on paper, £90, you know, well, let's just call it 100 quid for the sake of the argument. It doesn't sound that bad. You know, you put it down to 20 games and it works out a couple of quid a game. So it's really not that bad. But when you consider the SNES Mini had more games than this, and you know, even exclusive games that never even came out, and that was cheaper, what was that, like £60 or something, it puts it into perspective. But in that same regard, the Commodore 64 Mini was about £100+, and the Neo Geo Mini, which, mate, that thing, it needs a fucking controller. It shouldn't just be using an arcade stick. That's 100 plus, I think it's like 140 quid or something like that, or maybe 130, but I mean, it's not that bad, but it's still not that great either. We could do with being a little bit lower, but we'll just see what happens at the time. I'd just like to quickly mention my name is Dan. Now, some of you might know him because he's a great graphic designer and a good friend of the channel. He's the person that made all these alternative PS1/PS4 covers, and if anyone's a Shenmue fan, so is Dan, and he made these Dreamcast ones as well for the remake. These look amazing. Anyway, he come up with the concept of a PlayStation Classics app for the PS4. This would just be the digital games. I think this is a great idea and it would take costs right down. And it's not that alien of an idea either, because PlayStation have had PlayStation 1 games on the PS3, and even the 360's had the Xbox Live Arcade. Let's look at Nintendo, for instance. Nintendo's next console is obviously going to be the N64 Mini. And, you know, I've got some N64 games behind me here. That basically all you need, without being too heavy. The N64 Mini is only going to have about 10-20 games in it, because there's just, I know there's hidden gems and all that, but really it didn't have the greatest library. And when you compare that to the PS1, I mean, this is why the PS1 totally outsold it and did so much better than it. It's because the PS1 has a lot of the best games ever made on it. You know, I reckon it's the best console ever made, and for good reason. It's the games that are on it. So in that regard, if there was more than just 20, it would be way worth 90 quid, but the fact is just 20 doesn't really cut it, because if we start looking at this now, I think there should be at least 30 to 40 games, at least. Because if we start looking at it, number one, all in games I mentioned before. What about fucking Tomb Raider? It's not like they haven't got many to choose from. There's 4 games there. Surely that's going to be on it. I'm not really a big racing game fan, but there's like Crash Team Racers, Destruction Derby 2 there, what a game that is. And then Wipeout. I imagine Wipeout will probably be on, because honestly Sony fucking love Wipeout, it's crazy. But there's just 2 more. If we're looking at fighting games now, you know, come on, let's just start laying these out here. We've got Bloody Roar 2 and Bloody Roar 1, both great games, very underrated. Mate, Darkstalkers, how can this not even be getting a look in? This is a hell of a game. Psychic Force, this is a great game. This is like the game which Dragon Ball Z Final Bout should have been. And it's already coming out, but again, Tekken 3, this short. I know this is making a release, but again, just compared to my 20 earlier, there's even, you know, Parasite Eve could be in there with the horror games. Yeah, it's a great game, well worth it. Siphon Filter, for anybody who likes Metal Gear Solid, this is in that same vein. You know, looking at a few more classics, you know, Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, this is a world-class game again. Kurushi Intelligent Cube, not necessarily a world-class game, but just one that I really like. Gauntlet Legends, this is a great game, especially because it comes with 2 pads, that'll be perfect. A Little Big Adventure, this is one of those quite underrated games. I recommend people get onto that one. And then if we're talking about like real classics, man, Spider-Man, this is one of the best games from that whole console generation, and it's Spider-Man. They just released, you know, Spider-Man PS4, which is an absolute killer. Grand Theft Auto, you know, how is that not getting in there? That's a hell of a game. Pandemonium, man, what a fucking game that is. Absolute killer, one of the best side scrollers about. And then there's games I don't even have, you know, Klonoa, for instance, you know, Tombi, they need to be getting in there. Parappa the Rapper, surely that's going to be getting in there. That's a huge game for Sony. Spyro, I'm not the big Spyro fan, I'm going to be honest with you, but that's got to get in there as well. And there's even some more RPGs that need to get in there. Right. Alundra, what a game, some beautiful visuals in that game, a very hard game as well, let me tell you. Breath of Fire 4, this is a fucking magnificent game. And then here's one everyone seems to just not even be mentioning, Digimon World, this game fucking rocks, man. So yeah, when it comes to all that, there's a lot of games that could, and in my opinion should be on it, and if it adds at least 30, And you know, in fact, not even saying that, I said earlier about the SNES Mini, how that had some games that never even came out or only came out in America, and they could do that, like I said earlier, with Chrono Cross, Xenogears. But I'm not a big expert with Japanese PlayStation 1 games, but I guarantee there's some really big gems on that. I bet there's some heavy hitters on that could do with coming over, but no way they're gonna get a look in it. There's only 20 games. So yeah, in that regard, if there was about 30 games, I think it would be really worth it, but the fact there's only 20, it really just depends what they choose. I hope they don't play it safe. I hope they go for some of this great stuff that I've talked about. I mean, look at this stack here, it's ridiculous. So in conclusion, we come to the end of the video, and yeah, realistically, it's my favourite console of all time. I'm going to be buying the PlayStation Classic or PlayStation Mini, whatever the hell you decide to call it. And I know it seems like I'm jumping the gun a little bit here, talking about all these when, you know, the console's not even out yet, but you know, my first video on YouTube was, you know, it was the SNES Mini one, so I could not talk about my favourite console of all time being Mini. But yeah, I might be jumping the gun a little bit, but these ones I've recommended, perhaps it will give people an opportunity to play that, especially the newer generation who've never played it before. You know, I love the PS1 and it has got an unbelievable library of games. I mentioned all them, but I mean, look at all these up here. There are so many more brilliant games that you should be playing on this console. And you know what, maybe there's some that I don't even know about. So in the comments, please just put what games you'd have in your top 20, because I guarantee everybody's will be different. And that's really why I was saying about there being 30 to 40, because there's going to be a lot of people that have personal games in there. Like I have Roscoe McQueen and bloody Star Wars Master Terra mine, and they're definitely not going to be the top of anyone else's list. But everybody's going to have a game like that they're going to want to play. Now, next I just want to talk about the channel for a little bit. I know I've had a little bit of a hiatus. It's been about a month or so since I've been on, which in that time, I've actually went up to 375 subscribers, which I'm fucking blown away by. Seriously, thank you all so much. If you've been subscribed for a long time, you know I love you all, I'm very appreciative. And if you just joined the channel, that sounded so cringy, but if you just started watching the channel, I hope you've enjoyed the old stuff and I hope you're enjoying the new stuff as well. Anyway, there's going to be a lot of footage coming up soon. There's going to be a lot of videos. I might have been behind the scenes, but I've just been really busy and I've had a lot going on sort of thing. But I'm back and I've got a lot of ideas and I've got a lot of stuff coming up, a few big videos, and also October the 22nd, I believe, it's the 1 year anniversary of LRG, and I will go into that on the day, so get ready for an anniversary episode and, you know, potential giveaway, you know, you never know. Anyway, like I said, if you guys keep watching, I will keep making them. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate it. And I want to hear your thoughts. You know, like I said, I'm definitely going to be getting this PlayStation Mini. I pre-ordered a copy the other day, so yeah, I'm going to be getting it. Hope you guys are getting it. Hope you love it as much as I will. Right? Until next time, peace. Praise be the Lord, Naughty Dog.